Chapter 19. Yu Wei went into seclusion again. As soon as she stepped into the tide listening pavilion, the surface of the lake shattered completely. Not only that, the entire lake began to sway and countless koi fish leaped out of the water. Yu Wei was in a trance. Shangyin Academy taught all kinds of things, except for ghosts and gods. However, Yu Wei did not believe that the strange scene in front of her was beyond human power. Even Jiang Ni, who was used to seeing thousands of koi in the sky, frowned and could not figure out the reason. Su Fengnian pondered for a while and cursed under his breath. He threw the cucumber into the lake. The coachman Huang ran over with his hands in his sleeves. He was probably here to join in the fun. This old servant had a special status in the prince's mansion. He had no relatives or friends. However, because he had been raising horses for His Royal Highness and Second Commandery Princess for many years, even the sinister butler Shen would slow down and nod when he saw the old coachman. However, no matter who he met, Huang would always be silly and grin foolishly. Su Fengnian asked Huang to sit down. The surface of the lake had calmed down. He asked the servants to prepare a boat with a black awning and took Jiang Ni, Yu Wei, and Huang to the center of the lake to enjoy the snow. Huang was not interested. Other than feeding the horses, he would steal some time to drink some wine. Therefore, he was very happy and his old face was full of smiles. Inside the boat, Huang set up the stove and added some dry wood. The wine was not yellow rice wine, but a kind of local wine from Lingzhou. It was a new wine brewed by the prince's mansion outside of the prince's mansion. There were unsightly wine dregs on the surface of the wine. It was slightly green and thin like ants. Some poor people in Lingzhou who could not afford good wine called it green ant wine. They did not pay much attention to it, but the pillar state liked it. The green ant wine became famous because of the first line of Younger Brother Appreciating the Snow, written by the second commandery princess of Bailiang Palace when she was 10 years old. Green ant new fermented wine, red clay small stove. It was praised by scholars and then spread widely. Many talkers in the capital were shocked by it. For a time, there was a trend of warm green ant wine in winter. The second son of the king of Bailiang, Su Xiao, was Su Fengnian, Su Longxiang. Of the two daughters, the eldest was Su Jihu, and the second was Su Weisheng. The name, Second Commandery Princess, did not sound feminine at all. She had been intelligent since she was a child. Her swordsmanship was good, and her poetry was even more amazing. She had a broad mind. When she was 16 years old, she entered the Shangyin Academy to study. She studied the classics and weathering art with Han Guzi. The only imperfection was that although Second Commandery Princess was stunning, her appearance was ordinary. She was not as beautiful as First Commandery Princess and His Royal Highness. Jiang Ni still did not drink because she hated the green ant wine. She hated everything related to that woman. Her hatred was second only to Su Fengnian. Yu Wei drank a few bowls, and Su Fengnian and old Huang drank the rest. The atmosphere at the tide listening pavilion was tense as if they were facing a formidable enemy. De Zhugua, who was wearing a thick fox fur coat, waved his hand when he saw them boarding the boat. The 6 or 7 shadow masters in the mansion slowly retreated, and 3 of the 5 guards came out. Su Fengnian, who was drunk, pointed at Jiang Ni and then at Yu Wei. He laughed and said, "You and you, we have no grudges against each other, but you make it so that we can't live under the same sky." "Kill me?" "Sure, Jiang Ni. Take out the divine talisman and I'll let you stab me. I'd like to see if my Wuxia armor is sturdier or your dagger is sharper. Why don't we make a bet? If you win, we don't need to talk about the result. If I win, you give me a smile. What do you think, Princess Taiping? Is this a good deal?" Jiang Ni narrowed her beautiful eyes, eager to try. Jiang. Divine talisman. Princess Taiping. Yu Wei, whose mother was a sword attendant of the former emperor and whose father was a retired official in West Chu, trembled her hand, causing Wu Mainyang to yell lazily in her arms. Su Fengnian threw away the golden fox fur coat and tore open the lapel inside, revealing the navy blue armor that he was reluctant to take off after returning from his travels. He opened his chest and said, "Come, stab me." Jiang Ni was hesitating, waiting for an opportunity like a leopard cub. Old Huang was not worried about bleeding. The eldest young master had suffered a loss because of his lack of Jianghu experience. Later he became more and more cunning. In the end, she gave up the tempting opportunity and sneered, "You'll do a losing deal? I'd rather believe in a ghost than you." Su Fengnian quickly put on his clothes and put on the fox fur coat again. He laughed and said, Fortunately. I was so scared that I broke out in a cold sweat. As expected, I can't drink too much wine. Old Huang, go row the boat. Let's go back and save our lives from the gates of hell. Jiang Ni's eyes were full of vexation. Old Huang was happy with the young master. When they got ashore, Jiang and I left resentfully. Yu Wei did not put on the mink fur coat he sent to the courtyard. Instead, she gave her the fox fur coat that was the only luxurious one in the entire prince's mansion. She patted Wu Meinyang's head and said casually, You learned the Fengzhou accent to fool people, but in the banana courtyard, a small test exposed you. On the boat, a half-real and half-fake Princess Taiping of West Chu hooked your foxtail. Yu Wei, you're really not suitable to be an assassin. In the future, you should be content to be a caged canary. Look, I didn't lie to you. There's an extremely beautiful snowy scenery here. After saying this, Su Fengnian shouted the jargon of the bandits. The wind is tight, let's go. Then he ran away with his servant, Old Huang. Yu Wei, who was wearing the golden fur coat, stood in place. It was hard to tell whether she was wearing the fox fur coat or the wind and snow. In the 6th year of the Liang dynasty, on the 28th of the lunar calendar, the king of Beiliang, Su Xiao, and the crown prince, Su Fengnian, set out at dawn. Except for Chen Zhibao and Chu Lushan, the other 4 adopted sons followed. 300 cavalrymen majestically headed for Mount Jiuhua in Kunzu.